Now that we know what sort of message is being sent by the Facebook servers to our server, let's respond back to the user sending the message with a hi or something temporary. So for that, we need to know how to send a message. By the way, you can get to this page by clicking on the read the docs bit on the Messenger platform. So the send API is basically a request to this URL with the message and the text message, whatever you want to respond with, and the recipient ID as the user ID, right? All right, and so let's do this. So let's create a Facebook send message URL, and let's do that. And the page access token would be the Facebook page access token. All right, and now let's get to our post webhook function. Actually, before that, let's write another function called send message to user, which will basically accept a sender ID and the message that you want to send. All right. Now what we need to send is this, so let's just copy this as well. All right, now let's make a request. So this is me using the request library that we imported, this one, to make the HTTP request. So the URL would be the Facebook send message URL. The method would be post, and so the JSON would be, one second, would be this, right, which would be what we got from the docs. So let's say recipient, let's just indent this a little better. All right, ID would be the sender ID. All right, now next would be the message. Let me indent this as well. Would be text and the message, right? All right. Yeah, I think that's it. Next is we also need to write a function. You get an error, response, and a body. Let's handle this as well. And a semicolon, right? Let me indent this. Okay. So this we can just handle it however we like. This can be error, and if not, we can ignore, right, for the time being. We don't really care what response is coming from this as long as it's not an error. All right, so now over here, let's let our bot respond back to the user with the same thing that the user said. So in case I say hi, the bot should respond back with a hi. If I say what's up, then the bot should also say what's up, right? All right, so for that reason, let us parse the request body. So for that, let's go back to how the body looked like. So first thing we need to do is check if it was a page request. So let's do that. If request body dot object page, right, else handle this, right? Now if it is a page request, next is we need to get all the entries. So let's see if the entry is let's ensure that the entry is not null. So in that case, this would be request dot body dot entry. If it's not null, then request dot body dot entry for each function entry. All right, So now we have an entry object, which is supposed to have a messaging object, which is also an array. So let's see if there is one. If entry dot messaging, as long as that's not null, do entry dot messaging dot for each function messaging. Alright, so now we have a list of messages, right? Now inside this messaging object, we have an array of something which I've called messaging, and now we need to parse this message object, right? So let's call it messaging object, and now let's see. So here also we need to check whether if this messaging object indeed has a message key. If it does, then let's do message is equal to messaging object dot message. Right, now we have the message. Now we need to extract the text from this, so we can actually just do a message dot text, right? Another thing that we need to get is the sender ID, so let's do that as well. This is also inside the messaging object, so let's do that as well. Let's do our sender ID equals messaging object dot sender dot ID, right? I think that's what it is. Yeah, sender dot ID. All right, perfect. So now we have the message and the sender ID. So let's do that. Send message to user, sender ID, and message. Okay. And in any of these cases, if let's just print out logs in case these things don't work properly. So if there is no entry, then let's print to the log. Let's print to the log. So let's do that. Error, no entry key found. Right. Another thing is if there is no messaging, so let's do that as well. Just copy this and yeah. All right. Let's say no messaging key found. All right. I think now we've covered everything, right? And yeah, the final this thing. Let's say. Sorry. Let me just yeah. Not a page object, right? All right, so let's do that now, right? And anyways, we respond back to the Facebook server saying that this was handled, so let's do that. All right, I think here also we can check if so we can do response dot error body dot error. If that is the case, then let's print that out as well. Log error sending message to user. And response dot body dot error. Yeah. Stupid autocomplete is. All right, so now that we've done with this, okay, so now let's go and push this code. Let's add this, let's commit changes and git push Hasura master. Okay, so I think if it's redeployed, then this would change. Oh, so it says Facebook send message URL missing after argument list. So let's have a look at what this is. 53. 53 is this one. Okay. Oh, all right. I've forgotten to add. All right. Let's move this a little, and let's move these guys up a little bit. All right. That was hopefully the problem. So let's do a git commit -am just whatever commit id and git push Hasura master. Okay, let's see if this is fine now. Okay, all right, so now it's fine. So now let's go back to our movie bot and say hello bot. All right, so it works. So just to get back to what is happening, so what's happening is that when I sent the hello bot, this method was called, and we checked if it was a page request. We checked if it had keys called entry. We basically parsed the whole thing, got the message and the sender ID from this request, request that was made. And then if we got both the sender ID and the message, we call this method called send message to user, which accepts the sender ID and a message, and we basically made pushed a message back into our to our bot, right? All right, so this is what's happening. So now we have gotten to this place, right? Now the next thing we need to do is basically, as I said, this bot will accept a movie name and get information about that movie and basically display it back to the user, right? So now for that, we are going to assume that this text is always going to be a movie name, and in case he cannot find information about that movie, the bot will just respond back by saying that he doesn't have anything to say about this movie. Alright, so to get information about the movie, we're going to use APIs we're going to use this site called the moviedb.org. They basically have open APIs with which you can get information about movies, about the directors, etc. etc. So just create an account over there. I already have created an account. The next thing that you have to do is, after you've created an account, go to settings, go to API, and when you do that, you have to follow a few steps and create an API for yourself. Once you have done that, you will get an API key. So just keep a track of this API key. So I'm going to go back into my code and basically say movie db db API API key. Yeah, and I'm going to paste that. Sorry. Okay. All right. Another thing that we need to do is use this npm library called moviedb. I think it's called. How do I keep writing movie pd, db, and npm, right? This was for the, yes, yeah. So this is the library that we're going to use next, which is basically a library written for the moviedb org by somebody, and makes it very easy to query for data, right? So first we will do this, and we'll install this dependency into our project. So for that we need to navigate into the app and source directory. Alright, so we've done that, and then do a node install moviedb save. Alright, so now that's done. The next thing we need to do is instantiate this in our code. So let's head back to our code. Let's go here. Let's call it mdb. Alright, and so this is requires the moviedb library, and we are going to paste this API key. Alright, so I don't think we need this anymore. Cool, so now that this library is initialized, let's use it here, right? So before we use the send message to user, let's assume that this is a movie name. So we are basically assuming that everything sent to this bot is the movie name. Alright, so that's the movie name. So now we are going to write another function called get movie details, which will basically accept a movie name. Alright, and so now let's see how this works. Oh yeah, so this works by mdb.search movie, right? So let's do that. Let me indent this for a bit, and this over here, the movie name would be the movie name that we're sending. All right, so this will log the response, and at this point in time I will also send a message back to the user. So let's also have a sender ID sent to this API, sent to this method, and this message can be just wait, I will actually do something funny. So it can be var message is equal to finding details on movie name, right? Or let it be found details on movie name, and this can be the message. So basically each time a response comes in, we are just randomly just messaging back to the user, right? Okay, so let's do that. So let's go back here and call our method get movie details. Let's send the sender ID and the movie name. All right, I think this should work. If in case there is an error, we can simply send message to the user saying error finding details on movie name, right? And let's log this error also so that we can error using movie DB, and let's also print out the error. Yeah, all right. Now in case it isn't, we can just print out the response and now just send a message to the user as well. Okay, so all right, so now let's commit and push this. Ideally your commit messages should be much better and it should be more informative. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just typing IC, which stands for incremental commit. So basically I'm just saying that this is the next commit. That's it. All right, so now that's pushed, let's see if it was deployed properly. Let's go back to our logs and just, okay, I guess it was. All right, so let's say something like matrix found details. Okay, fine, perfect. So let's see what sort of a response comes here. Okay, so the logs over here are not really printing the whole thing. What we can do instead is, let's go to API. All right, so this is the documentation on the APIs. I think they also have, here we go, right? All right, so what we can do is we can try out our API over here and see what kind of response comes. So let's go to the search API, which is what we're using. We're going search movies. All right, that's good. Let's go to try it out. Oh, they're asking for my key, so let's get my key, which is here. Okay, so I got my key and the query. So the query was matrix, right? Query was matrix. Let's see what sort of response comes for this. All right, so the response sent by the MovieDB org is like so. So there's a page key, total results, total pages, and results key called results, which has an array of all the results, right? Oops. Okay. Yeah. So what does matter to us is each of these. So the results key. Let's figure out how to parse this, right? So there's vote count. So at this point in time, we're just going to show the title, the poster, basically an image. And so I guess I'll show the original title, the poster, and then we show another button which says more details, and then we'll ideally just navigate them to the movie. So basically we'll navigate them to this page, which would be the moviedb.org/movie/ I I think this is the movie ID. I think, yeah, 603 is the movie ID, and hyphen the name, right? All right, so cool. So let's do that next. Let's go back to our get movie details function. All right, so if it's not an error, we are going to parse this response, right? So what we need to do is check if the total results are more than 0, or basically we'll just check the results key itself. So first thing we'll do is if response results if that's not null. All right, so then we will do response.results. All right, so we would first check if response.results dot length is greater than 0. So if it is greater than 0, we handle it. Otherwise, we respond back to the user saying send message to user, sender ID could not find any information on movie name, right? So now let's just check the very first result and respond back to the user. So we can say our movie name is equal to result dot, what is it, original underscore title. Yeah, so original underscore title. And what else can we get from this? We can get the poster path. That's about it. Okay, fine. So let's get the poster path as well. Poster path is equal to result dot, I will just copy this, and yeah. And now let's send a message to the user saying sender ID, and so let's say movie name and poster path, right? Okay, so now let's see if this works. Let's do a git commit and a git push Hasura master. So let's see if, yeah, okay, fine. So this is pushed. Let's try matrix again. Let's see if a bot says something. All right, found details on matrix, and so it sent 2 messages. Let's see why that's happening. And also here we go. So we have our response and the details that we got, right? Let's see why it sent 2 messages, right? Okay, fine. That's because this was also being sent. All right, cool. Now what we can do is, so one thing is when you're searching for a movie, let's say Spider-Man. When you're searching for, so right now our bot is searching for details on Spider-Man, right? At that point in time, the user should be given some feedback. So like you know how the Facebook Messenger has a 3-dot indicator when somebody's typing. So let's do the same thing for this as well. For that, let's go back to the docs and let's see send API. What was the send API itself? Phone number, limits, request. Let's see. I think it was sender actions, right? Cool. So the sender action, yeah, here. This is exactly what we want, right? We want the typing indicator. So for that, what we have to do is we have to do the same API. We have to make the same API, and instead of sending a message, now we have to send a sender underscore action, which is typing on or off, right? So let's write another function for this. So send message to user and show typing indicator to user, right? So this will have a sender ID and is typing. So in case he's not typing, so it'll be a true or false thing. So let's say send action will be is typing. If he is, I think this is typing underscore off or typing underscore on, right? So this will be typing underscore if it is typing, otherwise it will be typing underscore off. And now let's send the request again. All right. Here we have to handle the error response body, and let's just copy this and paste it. So basically this sending typing indicator, right? So that we know where exactly this error is coming from. All right, so the next thing would be URL, which would be Facebook send message URL. The method would again be post JSON, and we have, let's just copy this as well. All right, so message, this would be, I think, sender underscore action, and oh, so there's just that. So sender underscore action and sender action. All right, so this is one thing. So what we can do is when we do get movie details, which is here, let's first send a show the typing indicator to the sender ID, and this can be true. And once we have the response, let's set that to false, right? This is basically it. All right, so let's see if this works. Let's do a git commit minus amice git push Hasura master. All right, so let's see if it's pushed. Okay, I think it is. Let's search for something else. Dunkirk. All right. Aha. So if you saw, there was a typing indicator. Let me see. Let's set for blah. All right. See, saw the typing indicator, right? All right. So that is working as well.